All right, all right, all right. We are going nuts right now in the household here because the Buffs just won 41-27 against Texas Tech. And honestly, I labeled this video a rant because I'm not done, right? So there's a rant coming. And there's a couple of different rants, right? There's a positive rant and a negative rant. Why is there a negative rant? We knew this was a must win game. This was an elimination game for CU. And we pulled it off. CU pulled it off. And so, why would we rant about that? Positively, we would rant about it because there was an opportunity that we could lose this game. And looking at the first quarter of the game, it was a distinct possibility that we could have lost this game. Hold on a second here. There we go. All right. Sorry, guys. I don't know what was going on there. But yeah, I mean, that's where the positive rant's coming from is we find a way to win. And even when the game doesn't look like you would say, Saban-esque from a win standpoint, meaning, clean game. We look like we dominate the entire game, even if it's a close game. Saban had a way of showing that he was in control, right? And there are a lot of other coaches like that too. Colorado right now is not that team. We are not the team that looks like we know how to manage a game. Okay, that's part of the rant. I've got look at my notes, guys. I want you guys to see my notes. Look at my notes. Can you see that right there? It's crazy. I wrote down stats about about halfway through the first quarter, and then I said, you know what? No, I can already tell you this is not going to be a stat game. We are going to go over the stats in just a second. I've got the stats pulled up, so we'll look at some things and talk about it. But there are a whole lot of rants. And now that we have, I'm afraid that when people get into this live stream late, they're not going to see the positive side of the rant, which is we won the game. We fought our hearts out. Both the offense and the defense did some miraculous things to pull this out. Okay. Looking at 41-27, it looks like a rout. It was not a rout, right? We know it wasn't a rout. But now this was the hardest game of the next 4 games, right? Does anybody disagree? Put it in the chat. If you disagree with this, and I'm going to go through every single one of the comments, okay? So hang on to your comments. I'm going to go through every one of the comments because you guys are always, I can already tell you right now, New World Grover, I'm going to pop you up here because this is my rant. Another sloppy game, okay? We won because we have Shadur and we have Travis, and I'm going to name a few other people that won this game for us, right? But if we had any other quarterback, right, in this game, or any other receiver other than Travis in this game, we could have lost this game. We probably would have lost this game. And this comes down to a lot of it is game management. Not only game management from the coach's side, but also the player side, right? So we're going to go through that. But I do not want to be remiss in the fact that I am so happy we won this game. The next 3 games we're going to talk about this week, right? Those should be easier games to win. But as a fan, okay, because that's what this is. I'm not a media guy. As a fan, I want to see us win way cleaner than this. The next 3 games need to be super clean wins. We need to look like we own the game and we don't make a lot of mistakes. We run the game the way the game needs to be run, like we've been coaching for 25 years, right? If we can do that and we can have, Iowa State lose out and we go into the Big 12 championship, we stand a chance of beating BYU if we play like that. If we end up beating BYU and we end up going into the playoffs, okay, we're thinking big here right now. We cannot play a game like we played today, or we will absolutely get stomped on. We will get our teeth kicked out, and we will look like a bunch of clowns out there, okay? Now, this is me being fired up, guys, okay? So first of all, as part of the rant, let's pull some players out and throw them down in the chat too of players you believe. I see all kinds of, cliche helmet sticker, stuff like that. Okay. Not that helmet stickers are cliche, but what I'm saying is the players that won this game. Okay. Wester helped us win this game. If not, probably, I think the MVP of this game is Wester. Okay. Now, alongside of that, let's jump over to the defensive side. Who is our best defensive player that helped us win this game or won this game for us? Now, you can say that it was the last play of the game, and that was Walker, okay, that won the game because he's the one that got the pass knocked out of, whatever, Texas Tech quarterback. Can't remember his damn name now. Doesn't matter because he lost, right? And then Sanders picked up the ball and scored a touchdown. That kind of sealed the game right there, right? So it could have been those two, but I'm not. I'm going to say it's Omari McNeil. And the reason why I chose McNeil was there were several plays in there that were drive-stopping plays that McNeil had that I thought he was probably the most dominant on defense. Now, I will also throw out there NHG, man. NHG. Green was on fire. That interception, it didn't even look like he even knew what was he just knew the ball was going to be there. It was crazy. It was like, that was probably going to be the lead of his highlight reel for the rest of his career, because that thing was awesome. BJ Green. So both Greens, right? BJ Green played a hell of a game, right? And then let's not forget about Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter, I want to say, went over, oh man, he didn't go over 100 yards. He ended up with 99 yards in this game. Oh, well, it is what it is, right? 99 is 100. It doesn't end up on the stat line, but everybody saw it, right? But I'm going to put Hunter in there as well. Now, let's go into some rough spots of the game. This is where the rant really begins, okay? The rant starts now. Shedeur holding the ball. I understand completely that we are a passing team. I understand completely that we live and die by the hand of Shedeur Sanders. We know this. I know this. Everybody knows this. But we cannot have Shedeur running in the backfield for 8 seconds. Our offensive line is doing a stellar job, but no offensive line can go play after play after play for 8 seconds, waiting for somebody to come open, waiting for Shedeur to run around, okay, without starting to rack up holding penalties, which is what happened at the end of the game. Every time it seemed like, and this is just me ranting again, okay, but it seemed like every time in the second half that Shedeur scrambled around after 5-8 seconds, something like that, we got a holding penalty, right? He also got sacked several times in this game. I'm going to go to the stats here in a minute. We'll look at the total amount of sacks. But, I mean, it's not our offensive line, and it's not Shedeur that is the anomaly here. It's that any quarterback that scrambles for 8 minutes, we're going to end up with holding penalties. Okay. It doesn't matter what team it is. They're going to end up with holding penalties because, I mean, the guys are just spinning around trying to figure out, okay, I got to find a body and put them on the ground at this point. And they're prone to making errors at that point because it's just a bunch of scramble at that point. So Shedeur, we've talked about this last year. We talked about it this year. It's because our running game has not established itself. We are boring in the run. We are boring in the run. We are boring in the run. We're handing the ball off and the running back is running directly into the pile and we're stopping at 2 yards. Not even 2 in most cases. I don't see counters going on here. I don't see any creative running plays, right? I don't see a lot of powers being run. We're not running out of, 12 personnel. I don't see those things. Okay, again, this is rant, right? This is rant. I'm not upset at Colorado. I'm a Colorado through and through since I was a young kid in the 70s. But we now, don't be ungrateful, Chris. I get that. Alpine, you're ungrateful. No, I'm not, okay? What I'm seeing here is that now we have an opportunity. Coach Prime and the coaching staff and the players of Colorado have got us to a point where destiny is going to make everybody like famous. Well, not that everybody's not famous on this team. That was probably a bad word. Infamous, right? Going from a 1-11 team to potentially hitting the playoff in 2 years is absolutely ludicrous. Okay. There isn't anybody on this team that won't be able to lick their pen and write their check to any team they want to go to, including Colorado, if this happens, right? So now we got to start splitting hairs. This is splitting hair time. It's, be grateful that you're a Colorado fan and this is happening right now. Okay. Also, at the same time, if you're looking at it from a coaching perspective, we have got a lot of work to do if we're going to be playing against teams that are power teams. That's going to be a problem for us if we're going up against the likes of, let's say we get into a playoff, right? And we're going to be a low seed team probably. If Boise State ends up getting one of the big four, right, we could be 12. Okay. I mean, that whole flip there is kind of weird. But we might be playing a top 4 team or a top 6 team, right? And we have to take that opportunity that we have and not just say that, oh man, we're lucky to get here. Let's go out there and give it our best try and get slaughtered. We need to go out there and we need to win. And we are like that close. Like our team, our players are that caliber. We have as good of players, I think, that are on any team in the nation right now. Okay. When they're playing their best, they're as good as any in the nation. I think our coaches, right, pound for pound, are in that same realm. They've shown it before. It's the decision-making process in the game that is making my head explode. And I know it is you guys too. I'm not looking at the chat right now, guys, because I'm ranting. And when you're ranting, you go blind. You can't see anything, right? So that's what I'm doing. I'm venting right now, but I'm venting in a positive way, meaning that we're like that close. Like let's get there, right? So let's look at some of the other things that were very ranty. Okay, we found Savell Smalls on a little flip pass, right? And this sticks out to me because we don't target the tight end at all, and we didn't target the tight end on that play, right? He just happened to be open, and Shedeur is about to get pounded. And he flipped it to Savell. Savell made a key first down in a drive there. And I'm thinking to myself, we've talked about this 1,000 times. Where's the tight end in our game? When the tight end is getting the ball, we are 100%. When was the last time you saw a tight end drop the ball at Colorado? Michael Harrison last year was damn near 100%. He won games for us in overtime, right? Now, this year, same thing. We might get one pass to a tight end a game or one tight end pass every other game, and they're 100%. They're catching the ball and they're getting yardage. Why are we not using them? We need to use those guys. Savell Smalls played tight end in high school, right? He was a 5-star going to Washington. Why are we not using that, right? Why are we not using that? He is a 5-star athlete in a position that he played in high school with a very good coach for tight ends, right? Use the tight end more. Okay, more rant. What else do you guys want me to rant about? All right. I'm going to go the other side of the ball now. Texas Tech penalties. We talked about it in the pregame, okay, a couple of days ago, as a key to the game, which is Texas Tech has a very poor ability to stay away from penalties. They want to penalize themselves. I mean, they're way down there. They're worst in the nation. I don't even remember what that number is, but it was bad, right? And what I was saying was, if we can play a clean game, we will let Texas Tech penalize themselves out of the game. Okay, that would have happened. Okay, now granted, we won. Okay, we won. Okay, we won. But we had way more penalties than we needed to have. Penalties were absolutely ridiculous. I'm looking over at the stats, and I'm going to throw the stats up here in just a minute, guys. I promise you. I'm not going to leave you without stats. I'm sure you're looking at them too. I'm looking at penalties. This may actually surprise me. Let me see if this is in the box score. It is not in the box score. We will find it though. All right, I'm back, guys. Please let me know. I am so sorry, guys. I was so excited. I had my computer in the living room and I had to get out to the garage because it's Alpine Garage Sports. It's not Alpine Living Room Sports. So, so I ran out here and I forgot to plug my laptop in. So, can somebody please throw in the chat if you can if I'm here and you can see me? It looks like I'm streaming. So please let me know so I don't. Okay, thank you very much, guys. I am so sorry that I was gone there for a minute. Um, Man, mid rant and the dang computer goes dead. I am so sorry. Anyway, well, now that I have saved and resurrected this thing and I don't have to start a new stream, I can still go back through your comments and post them. So hopefully everybody jumps back on here again. But where were we when I was losing my absolute freaking mind on something? What was it? It was Texas Tech penalties. All we had to do is play a clean game, and we didn't. Okay, so which penalties drove you the most crazy? Put them in the chat. Okay, I'm going to say for me, it was probably the delay of game penalties, specifically the delay of game penalties on the punts, because it seemed like every time we punted the ball, we got a delay of game. There was a lot of back and forth going on, and we didn't seem to really know what was going on. And, did it hurt us in the punting game? Probably not. But at the same end, it's sloppy football when you're talking about that. So, that is the big, the roughing penalties were devastating as well. I'm glad that we didn't get the McNeil roughing on that, or I guess they call it targeting, but they didn't call it on him because he wasn't targeting. But I thought for sure they were going to stick it to him because of the roughing the passer penalty that that Texas Tech got, and I thought they were trying to even it out or something like that, you know. But yeah, the penalties were a little bit ridiculous. It looked like we didn't at some points in the game know what we were doing. Now, this is down the list a little bit, but it's probably my biggest rant. Okay, is that I had this paper, right? And I showed you guys this paper earlier. Okay, these are my notes, right? And I will make a note like Shadura is holding the ball too long! Exclamation point. Okay. Then on the next play, Shadura will hold the ball too long and he'll throw a touchdown. And so you're like, well, crap. So should Shadura hold on to the ball 8 seconds if he's going to score on a random, 1 out of 8 times? And my point going back to that is that happened to everything during the game. Like the first quarter, we were not playing good football. The second quarter, we played great football, right? The third quarter, we played good football. The fourth quarter, outside of the defense, we didn't know what we were doing from a play calling standpoint or from a game management standpoint. Okay. And we're going to get into that in a second because this is another rant, right? Which is, well, before we get to that, it just seemed like every time we did good on something, we did bad on something. And then every time we did bad on something 2 or 3 times, we ended up doing something really great with it, So this game was very uneven. It was like you had no idea what was coming next. Was it going to be a miracle play or was it going to be a boneheaded move that cost us the game? It seemed like every single down was like that. And again, no, I'm not trying to be negative on Colorado. What I'm saying is it was like flying a kite. Like those kites that have you hold the handle and it's got 2 strings, right? And when you can yaw it and things like that, you can make a dive and so forth. But then one of the strings slips on the hoop, and now one string is longer than the other, and you're like, "Whoa, hang on a second! This thing's going all over the place, right?" And you figure out a way to like wrap it one more time to get it back on track, right? So I flew a lot of kites when I was a kid, right? But that's what it felt like. And then you're flying it for a while, and all of a sudden that loop comes off again, and the kite starts going crazy, and you're sitting there trying to correct it. You correct it, and then finally you get control of it again. That's what it felt like all game long. It was like it was crazy, and it made for a great game. Like you're on the edge of your seat, and you're yelling. There's probably some cuss words coming out if you're in my family, and then the next play, it's like we're all celebrating and high fiving, and things are going great. And then the next play, it was like we're cussing again. So anyway, I digress on that. Now, new rant, okay? Do we want to do run first, the run rant? Or let's do the run rant. The run rant. Same run rant we have in every single game we talk about it, right? What in the good gravy is going on with our running game? Like we had 60 yards rushing in this game. In the past games when we did a really great job of running the ball, we were in over 100, right? Same players. We didn't have Welch, but we had Augusta. We had Augustave. We had Hayden. Draylon had one, but it didn't feel flowy. Like again, we weren't creative in the run game. And I think that's our biggest detriment is we come in the wrong formation, it seems to me sometimes. And we're expecting the running backs to do everything. We don't put extra blockers in there for them in a lot of cases. We still have 4 wideouts in a lot of cases. And we're just expecting these running backs to just pull miracles, and they're not going to do that. They've shown that they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. They've shown they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. Every other running back gets extra blockers in there. They're running, 11 personnel or 12 personnel or 13 personnel or 21 personnel or something where there's an extra blocker in there. But we don't seem to want to do that to give our running backs and our running game leverage. So, that's one of my rants is we figure it out for a game and then we lose it again. Same as we were talking about with this game is we started out poor, we got really good, and then we got poor again, and then we got great again. It's like we got to figure this out. Like somebody's got to control that kite. And we need a smooth game going forward. These next 3 games are going to be much better from the standpoint of us being able to control the game, right? So now let's get into one of my final rants. Man, I got like 20 of them on here. Is 8 minutes left in the game. And I wrote down, and I apologize for this, guys, because I'm not a cusser. I really don't cuss a lot. Like I rarely cuss. But I put 8 minutes left WTF, right? So same as I always do, we're ahead in the game, right? Late in the game. It happens a lot. And we all think or want the team to sit on the ball. Don't let the ball hit the turf. Okay? Run the ball, short, easy, high percentage passes. Don't go out of bounds. Do not go out of bounds, right? Control the clock. If you have to punt, you have to punt. But at least control the clock, right? With 8 minutes left, I think we didn't run it at all. We passed every down. We could have run once maybe, but it was a pass incomplete. Then it was a pass complete out of bounds. And it was just like, it was crazy. And we ended up giving the ball back to Texas Tech. And we didn't run hardly any time off the clock. And that could have been a stunner. Okay. That could have been the stunner for us. But then what happened, right? This is a positive rant. What happened at that point? The defense, for some divine reason, the defense, who's been good all year long, jumped up there and had multiple series of interceptions and fumble recoveries. And it just, we kept taking the ball away from them. And it was just awesome. We were sacking the quarterback. The defense took control of the game at that point when the offense, forgive me for saying this, was trying to give it away. Okay. We were ahead by 2 touchdowns and we were acting like we were behind by 2 touchdowns. Was it just me that saw that, guys? Okay. Somebody put "you crazy Alpine" in there. If you think I'm speaking out of turn here, but it felt like in the fourth quarter that we were playing from behind when we were playing from ahead. That's all I'm saying on that one. Okay. I already went through delay of game. And then there was the taunting that kept TT in the game. Now, it didn't turn out to be much. They ended up scoring a touchdown. But at the same time, the defense was still being pretty stout. So we got that penalty. Again, the taunting, guys. I want them to have fire. I want them to have fire. And I want them to celebrate. And, the people in my family that were sitting in the room, every time they were celebration in the end zone, everybody was screaming, don't celebrate. Don't celebrate. We're going to get a penalty. I'm okay with getting a penalty on a celebration in a big game like this, as long as it doesn't cost us the touchdown, right? And everybody remembers this from last week. When you're not taunting somebody, you're just celebrating, you're going to end up getting 15 yards on the kickoff, and it probably won't cost you the game, right? But the specific taunting thing has been in a bunch of games, and it has scared the living crap out of us because we could lose the game on something like that, right? So the taunting, I saw taunting in here several times. And I 100% agree with what you were saying in that. This is disciplined football. Like we're talking, I keep bringing up, old Alabama football. I'm not an Alabama fan, not even close to being an Alabama fan. In fact, I don't want to say I hate Alabama, but I hate Texas. But I don't hate Alabama. I like Alabama from the standpoint that the old Alabama, they were very crisp in the way that they played. And they were very clean in the way that they played. And you didn't have tons of penalties that could have cost them games. And you didn't have fourth quarter being ahead by 2 touchdowns misrepresentation of what football is about. You didn't have those things with Alabama football. So even though I don't like Alabama, I like what Alabama stood for back in the day, right? And if we can play like Alabama, and Coach Prime is in deep with in deep. He's in deep with Alabama football coaches, right? Saban and him are like in lockstep, right? And I see Saban in his earpiece, right? I would love to see Saban in his earpiece. And it's not all Coach Prime. It's not all Coach Prime. Don't get me wrong, okay? There's a lot of leaders on the field that are making decisions in these cases that are a little bit crazy, right? But these are also the guys that are making the decisions that win us the games. So it's like, do you want to quell that? Do you want to quell that kind of craziness out there on the field where you just never know what's going to happen, but it always turns out in our favor? Or at least lately it's been turning out in our favor. Do you want to quell that? Or do you want to tame the lion? Do you want to take that ferocity out of the game? I don't know. Like, that's why I'm ranting, because like I am a traditional football guy and I like clean play, design how you're going to win it, and then execute your plan and win the game, right? And when you do that, and you do that week after week after week after week, you start decimating the minds of the people that you're playing ahead, because they're a machine. We're going to make mistakes and they're just going to plow right over us, right? But with teams like Colorado that are just, and really it's the entire Big 12. It's not Colorado. Like, I don't know what's in the water in the Big 12, but like every team in the Big 12 is playing like this right now. So it's not even Colorado. I'm just going to say that it's the Big 12. Is that it's just random how things are happening sometimes, right? The good news is that we have the best players, the key best players on our teams, and we have one of the best defenses in college football. And that is what kept us in this game. Is our key players and our defense kept us in this game, kept us in this game with all of the other errors that are going on. And then somebody keeps putting tortillas in the chat. I had a funny, I'm not even going to say it. I'm not going to say it. Maybe I'll say it on a when we're out of the season, but something about the tortillas at that stadium, it would have been really funny. We need to do this if we play them, or when we play them again. But in any case, the last play of the game is my final rant. It may not even be my final rant. I may just go all night, guys. This was a good rant. Is Walker essentially stripping the ball, right? And then Shiloh coming and grabbing it for a touchdown. That, to me, I mean, talk about skilled players. Walker reached out as far as he could on that play. It almost seemed like he knew that the milliseconds were going by and that arm was going to go forward. And he kept that thing from going forward. And he got that at the last possible millisecond before it would have been an incomplete pass. That is absolute freaking studness right there. That is, he was going out of his mind to get that ball. And that's why Walker is a hero on that play. And then Sanders, right place, right time, grabs the ball. We score a touchdown. He understands the game. He knew that could potentially be a fumble. And he played it like a fumble, where maybe a lot of other players would have just ran right by it thinking it was an incomplete pass. So that I'm going to give Shiloh mad props for, because that would have been an easy one to just run by, right? And then, as bad as that 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter was for our game plan that we just did a rant about the fact that we didn't understand, it seemed like we didn't understand that if the ball doesn't hit the ground, then the clock keeps running and we don't give Texas Tech the ball back with very many minutes left. At the very end, we get the fumble, or we end up getting the ball back. And on first down, we kick a field goal. Genius, absolute genius, right? We knew at that point that would put us up 2 scores. No way Texas Tech has the amount of time to put up 2 scores. No way they do that, right? We don't got to get fancy. We don't got to sit on the ball. We don't got to try to get Travis 1 more yard to get 100. All we have to do is kick a field goal and win the game. First down, right? Don't try to do anything else. And they did it, and it was perfect. So it's like when they got the ball back, I was yelling like, "Oh my God, no. Somebody's going to try to throw this ball." But then the kicking team came out and they kicked the field goal. It was like I was blown away. I was blown away in a positive way because the game was back and forth. It's so emotional. And I'm not going to have a voice tomorrow. I just know I'm not going to have a voice. I can already hear it going out a little bit. I'm getting kind of grunty. You get kind of grunty when you're talking like that. And I haven't had enough beer yet. And it's just the senses are going crazy, guys. But when you say all of this stuff, right? Chris is out of his mind. Alpine is absolutely losing his freaking mind on his podcast or YouTube show or whatever you want to call it. This is all because of the passion of Colorado. It's not that I don't think we have the best coaches or the best players. That's not it at all. I think we have a perfect, like way more than a perfect scenario for Colorado right now. I could have never dreamed. I don't think any of us could, that after that 1-11 season, actually not even that. No. Let me go back 20 years. Every single season outside of 2016, every single season was a disappointment. Change coaches, change assistant coaches, change personnel, change scheme, change this, change that, build a new stadium, right? All of the things that we have done. Okay, this is the year we did this. Okay, no, this is the year we did this. Okay, no. We just expanded Folsom. So now we're going to win. And actually we did in 2016, which was actually kind of weird. But then we get back to changing coaches again. And then we got, the greatest coach that Colorado's ever had that ended up being Midnight Mel. And then that turned out to be a dang disaster. And then COVID hit. I mean, let's stop crying, right? Then we get Coach Prime and everybody's up again. It's going to happen now. Coach Prime, he's going to bring the heat. He's going to be able to recruit players. He's going to be able to get the best coaches because of who he is. And I even said it on my very first show on this channel. My very first channel show was called Is Coach Prime Right for CU? And I went up and down and around, and we had never seen him coach in a Power 5 football, right? So at this point, I was guessing at what would happen. And I came out to, he may not be the best pure coach, meaning that we haven't seen him a lot in his coaching prowess in major college football. But he knows the game. He has connections to bring in the right people, right? He has the connections and the aura about him to bring in the best players. And so we were hanging that on Coach Prime at that point, coming into Colorado. And I'll be danged if he has done every single thing. He brought in tons of money to the university. He's changed our outlook. We have a brand new scoreboard, guys. We're talking about rebuilding the West End, which for people at the University of Colorado is like a blessing because the West End is the oldest part of the stadium and it's fun and it smells weird. And that's a great thing about Folsom is that it's old. And I love that. I don't want a new techie stadium that smells like, stainless steel and I don't know, what do you want to say? Burning wires? I don't know. I want one that smells like spit and urine, right? And 100 years of football is what I want it to smell like. And that's what it smells like. And then you get a shiny coach like Coach Prime come in here and he brings what we saw today, which was like just pure insanity. It was pure insanity out there, but it was like a, man, what do you want to say? It was pure insanity, but it was like a Broadway play that made you want to raise your emotions and then crash them down and then raise your emotions and then crash them down, knowing that the script at the end says we win the game, right? And that's what it feels like. And it's genius. And it makes me feel great. And it makes me feel proud to be a CU fan. It makes me feel proud to be a Coach Prime supporter. My license plate on my truck is a CU plate that says Prime 21 on it. And I got it like a week after Coach Prime came. I'm like, I'm going all in on Coach Prime, right? I grew up as a Dallas fan, still am. I know Coach Prime. I mean, know Coach Prime from, being a fan of his and knowing that he is a winner and he will figure it out. Whatever happens, it's going to be fine, right? And today's game was one of those things. Pure insanity and pure genius at the same time. And it just makes me smile ear to ear. And I just want to rip the heart out of my chest and give it to the man. All right. Holy crap. I told you we were going to look at stats. Let's look at stats and then we're going to go to the chat real quick. And I'm going to start pulling out some chats here. So let me pop that in and we're going to go over these real quick. I won't make this too long, guys. I promise. I know you guys got big Saturday night plans. All right, there we go. Okay, so this is kind of what I'm talking about. Shadur was 30 for 43, which was not obviously his best game. And we had 43 attempts. So that right there tells you that we were one-dimensional football. Okay. 3 TDs, 0 interceptions, 291 yards, very solid game. If you were to look at quarterbacks across the league and you were to look at stats, I would consider these to be good stats. They're not Shadur stats, but they're good stats. He did not have a bad game. Isaiah, we had 60 yards. Isaiah had the high of 32. This is kind of where it starts to get silly, guys. Dallin had 17, and Dallin continues. Dallin, I still believe in my heart, Dallin is our best running back. We are not setting him up for success. There's also something there about Dallin shedding tackles. I'm not seeing Dallin shedding a lot of tackles. Isaiah is shedding about 50% of his tackles, but Hayden, I don't see him doing that very much. And then Draylon only had one run, so we're not even going to count that, right? You get down into receiving yards. Hunter had 99 yards, so 1 yard shy of his 100-yard game. We're going to give it to him. I'm going to posthumously give I don't even have anything that I can put up here that looks like a yard, but if I had a yardstick, I'd bring it up and I'd show a yardstick. We're going to give him that yard so he can have a 100-yard game. But that would be 9 receptions for 99 yards is 9 point. That's probably, what is that? 9 yards, a little over 9 yards a catch. LeJounte, who is one of our heroes of the game, 82 yards on 6 catches. So he had well over 12 yards average catch. Will Shepard, I did not mention Shepard. Why didn't I mention Shepard? Shepard had some of the, let's go back in time, right? Because history is important. You have to understand that history is something that you need to look at in order to change tomorrow. Where was I going with this? Oh, yeah, Shepard. So we know Shepard has a little bit of dropsies in early games, okay? Again, one of those things where one pass was like, oh my gosh, get him out of the game. And then the next pass was, holy crap, no, keep Shepard in the game. Keep Shepard in the game. And then the next pass was, oh no, you got to get him out of the game. And the next pass was, nope, can't take him out of the game because he is Shepard and he will absolutely win us the game. This game was not that game. He was money. He was fighting. Big guy. They had a hard time bringing him down. I really, really, really like Shepard's effort in this game. Savell Smalls. So Isaiah. Here's what I was talking about. Halfback pass, running back pass, screen pass. Call it what you want, right? We are almost 100% on those, and we are almost 100% on tight end passes. There's not very many of them, so it's not a big book to look at. But Isaiah Augustave, 3 for 21 yards. Okay, so you can do the easy math on that. That's 7 yards per catch, which isn't as good as the receivers, but in short down yardage works really well. And I really like that. Savell Smalls had that genius like little flip to him that he got 10 yards out of. Drillin Miller had 5 yards. Let's see. Shiloh and Cameron Cinnamon Craig both had fumble recoveries. And then when we're looking at defense, Levanta Bentley at 10 total tackles, Nakai Hill Green, which is one of our players of the game at 9 tackles and a half a sack, or a half a TFL, I'm sorry. Amari McNeil, my stud of the game on defense. Absolutely my stud of the game on defense. 9 tackles. So basically right up there at the top, 1.5 sacks and 3 tackles for loss. That right there, put a bunch of stars on that, right? Arden Walker in that same group. We talked about Walker with his Superman move on Texas Tech's quarterback to get that ball out before he slung his arm forward. He had 7 tackles. He had 2 sacks and 2 TFLs. So Amari McNeil and Arden Walker, to me, are defensive players of the game. And then you go down, Hodge had a great game. Nwanko had a great game. Shiloh had a great game, although if you watch it, and I'm not going to get too deep into this, still a couple of times he's in there hitting players instead of tackling them, and they're bouncing off of him, getting extra yardage. So we need to keep an eye on that. That's something that I think we need to fix. But I think that overall, everybody on our defense played very well. So that is the stats. And now we're going to go to y'all's comments here, and I'm going to go backwards. How can you, so Go Buck says, how can you be allowed to throw anything on the field? Can see you throw snowballs since it's, okay. So I don't know what the rule is, but essentially Texas Tech is allowed to do this, but I guess because of tradition and the fact that they're not going to impale somebody. So being old like I am, I can tell you that in the 80s, we had a propensity at the University of Colorado to throw oranges on the field because we always wanted to go to the Orange Bowl, which was, going to be the national championship in a lot of cases, right? And so Boulder would sell out of oranges, and the grocery stores had to start pulling them off the shelves on game day because normal people, if they had to go get an orange, can't go get an orange, right? And then the fans would go up and all the oranges would be out, and then once the game started, the oranges would come back out into the grocery store so people could sell oranges. But so there's always something like that in every I don't know, in every stadium, it seems like. But once they start becoming like projectiles, right? So like water bottles, beer cans, things like that, that's when they're going to start calling it. But I agree. It was out of control there. It was like totally out of control. At one point I was like, what we need to do is Coach Prime should have had like one of those big, like 36-inch, like rolling, what do they call them? Skillets. Dang. What are those things? Anyway, and like popped up the hood and like got it going, put some onions and some peppers on there and kind of got them frying up. And then as the fans were throwing the tortillas, the receivers that are on the sideline go up, catch a tortilla, flip it down, make a tortilla, give it to a lineman. Let's feed some linemen some tortillas and get them all fired up for this game, right? Let's use it to our advantage. If you're going to throw tortillas, we're going to make fajitas. And that's how this thing should work, right? All right. So thank you, Go Bucks. I appreciate it. And yes, I agree with the snowballs, although I think those would become projectiles, and I think people would have a problem with that. Let's see. Cam Duncan says, but yet we are criticizing the team's performance. Yep. We are criticizing the team's performance. We're not criticizing them from the standpoint of like Colorado's terrible. It's that we have so much potential that we really need to clean up the game a little bit, right? And that's what we're talking about here. They almost self-destructed, says Robert D. Harris. KR says, used to throw snowballs and oranges here. That's right. Go Bucks. Yeah. Coach Prime went off when that happened. He did. Yeah. He got upset a few times in the game. Demand Above says, people crying about a sloppy game from the program that was 1-11 2 years ago, losing by 30. GTFOH, just win. Okay, Demand, you are the one that I'm going to pick on for this comment. Okay. 1-11. Yeah, that was terrible. Terrible. The fact that we're winning, we love it. I've never said I don't like winning. Again, potential, right? If we played like this against any one of those teams in the playoff, we would absolutely get delaminated. We would absolutely get our clocks cleaned unless some kind of miracle happened, which happens with Colorado. And that's why I'm saying the coaches, when coaches go back, let's get real here. Everybody get real here, okay? If you manage a business, okay, or you do anything that you organize people, right? And you go out there on a day and let's say you're running sales, okay? And you're running sales and you make a lot of sales. But in the process, you make 15 people angry that are never going to shop with you again. Okay? You lose 3 people that work for you to they quit on you because they don't like the atmosphere. Okay? And all these little things happen. Yeah, you made sales at the end of the day. But then at the end, you look at your team and you're ready for the next day and you're like, holy crap, how am I going to put a team together with this? If people aren't going to show up and I'm losing all my people, how am I going to put a team together or a sales team together, right? It can be in anything, right? Coach's job is to coach. They go out there, they play the game and they win, but likely not go into the next practice is saying, hey guys, we won. Everything's good. Let's just keep doing what we're doing. That's not coaching. That's not coaching, right? The coaches are going to look at it. They're going to take the positive attributes out and they say, we're going to repeat these. Okay, we're going to put those in the game for the next game, right? We're going to practice that. These attributes over here that could have potentially lost us the game, we're going to put an X on that. We're going to eliminate that from what we're doing. That's what we're doing here. That is what we're doing here. We are eliminating the negative things, enhancing the positive things. And if we do that enough over time, we are going to win more and more. And we're going to do it in a way where when we go against the big boys and we're not playing 3-loss Big 12 schools, that we are going to be able to dominate. And we are, like Coach Prime wants to do, we're going to be able to dominate, right? And that's what we're doing here. Let's see. Shout out to Coach Mo, and the D-line was coming. Yes, I agree 100% on that. Cam says, at least there were reasons to throwing the oranges. Yeah, I don't know. The whole tortilla thing is fun though. Coach Mo and Coach Overholt. The offensive line I think looks really good, guys, and the sacks that we got, and the hurries that we got, and the pressures that we got. It'll be fun to look at it a little bit later and determine who was responsible for that. But if we hold on to the ball, if Shedeur holds on to the ball too long, the offensive line has a tendency to look bad when it's really not their fault. The balls are not, quarterbacks aren't designed to hold the ball for 8 minutes waiting for wide receivers to get open. It's just really hard against any defense. Once you break that initial line and everybody starts splintering off, now you're just running in circles trying to hit people. And 50% of the time, it's going to be called a penalty, right? So when you say Overholt in this, I 100% agree. He's got the line exactly where they need it. We need to change the other part of that. That's what I'm going to say. White man explaining Mexican food. I need popcorn. Okay, hang on a second. I am from the Southwest, guys. I am from the Southwest. Jason Jackson, IMG Academy Connect, and Jordan Seaton's best friend. Yep. They're never going to play a perfect game. No team does. No, that's that's true, not true. We're not looking for a perfect game. We're looking for a game that has structure. And I love the win. And I'm not saying anything, again, guys, I'm not saying anything negative about Colorado. What I'm saying is there are some things in here that are consistent. They're game after game, the running game. Okay. Consistently, we've had a couple of good games and then we go right back to where we were before. We won the game, which was really good. But if we can control the clock against some of these better teams, I think we're going to be in better shape. We wouldn't even use the same game plan for a different team. That's not necessarily true. That's not true. Some of the best teams out there have a consistent game plan from team to team. And there are teams that don't. There are teams that completely change their scheme for every team. There is no best scenario, obviously. If there was one team that could win, I don't know, multiple championships over 15 years and be completely dominant to the point that their coach is raised up as a deity of coaching, those teams don't exist, right? Wait a minute. Saban's that guy. Okay. Yes, it does exist. It exists. And to man above, I'm not trying to be hard on you at all. What I'm saying is that I appreciate you very much. What I'm saying is that these teams do exist. They exist, and the ones that can't do that aren't relevant for a long period of time, like Colorado and many other teams, because they haven't figured it out. And before they can figure it out, coach is gone, right? Coaches don't last very long when they're losing. So then you got to start over, right? Now that we have the portal era in our midst, it's going to be even harder to pull off the Alabama of today, because it's going to be the culture of the team and the promise of what happens in the future to hold these guys on the team. Because if at any point they smell that their position isn't going to give them the best um, notoriety in the country. Okay. Similar to tight end at Colorado. Tight end's not a position at Colorado, it seems like. I'm overstating that probably, but I don't think I am, guys. Okay. We don't use the tight end very much. And so if you're an elite tight end, are you going to come to Colorado if we keep doing this? That's what I'm saying, right? Same thing with the running game. If you're an elite running back, right, with the promise that we are going to be an elite running team, that would be great. But right now we don't look like that. So we're not going to get those elite running backs. So that's kind of what I have to say in a nutshell here. Mary Lou says, my rant is game management. One time left out with 9+ minutes left in the game. That can kill us one day. I agree with that. Brian says, Demand, you happy with the win? I'm glad they won, but you got to think big picture. That's right. We wouldn't be thinking big picture if the big picture wasn't available to us. If we were struggling to get to a 6th win to get to a bowl game, we wouldn't even be having these discussions. At this point, it's just, I hope and I pray that the other team makes a mistake and we can win the game, right? That's not where we're at right now. We are an elite team as far as I'm concerned. And as far as many other prognosticators are concerned, Colorado is an elite team. They see us as an elite team. We have the best quarterback in college football. We have the best receiver cornerback in college football. We have one of the best lines. The defense is acting amazing. They're playing their hearts out. We have some coaches that are absolutely going to get picked from us. You know they are. People are looking at them going, yeah, I want you, and I'm going to pay you, right? So you're going to see that in the future. Coach Prime he is a magnet. People gravitate towards him, but money talks, right, guys? And that's the ill of a successful program. When you have a successful program, I need a beer. Hang on, guys. When you have a successful program, like Saban did, talking a lot about Saban, he lost coaches every single year. In his coaching tree, that's why you have so many coaches that are playing in the playoffs or going to play in the playoffs. Like half of them are Saban disciples. Okay. You want people to move on. I'm okay with that. You can't keep people here forever. If they're bad, they're going to stay forever. If they're good, they're going to be gone soon. Right. So you might as well leave your mark on them. They go off and become successful. The next hot coach says, hey, that coach can develop coaches. I want to go to Colorado and be the next big coach. And that's where we get the next big coach from. Then we make them awesome. And then they move on. And then the next hot coach comes up and says, I want to be his replacement. I want to be the next hot coach. And Colorado is the place. We're in that cycle right now, guys. We are in that. I can see it. Coach Prime has got the siphon going, and we are going to lose coaches, and people are going to be upset probably. But I'm not going to be, because I know that for every load halt, let's say, that we may lose in time to more money somewhere, there's another load halt waiting who is the next one. And everybody's clamoring for him already. But he wants to come here because this is the program that really pushed Load Holt, let's say, to extreme notoriety, right? He was at OU before this. He came here. After looking at this line this year, he's going to be top money. Top money. Hopefully, he'll stay at Colorado. Maybe we can even pay him more. But there's going to be a lot of teams clamoring for him. They probably already are. Like people in his ear. I don't know what's going on, right? I'm talking about, and it's like this. I'm a business guy. It's like this in business too. You have good managers, you have good people that run your business, and people notice how good your business is doing. If it's a public business, they're looking at the trade, all this other stuff, and they're going to poach them. They're going to get them. At some point, someone's going to get them, right? But you're going to create that siphon. Okay. That was a long rant. I'm sorry, guys. I wonder how many, let's see, David Johnson says, wonder how many TTs, Texas Tech recruits are trying to contact CU now. That's what I'm saying. Every time we go out there and we do this, it starts that, you can call it a prime, right? You know what priming is? Priming is like when you're trying to get something started. Like I've got Broncos and Jeeps and motorcycles and everything in my garage sitting right in front of me. Most of them are in pieces. When I'm trying to get an engine going, you got to prime the fuel. You got to really kind of get everything moving in the right direction. And it's a choreography. Like you got to get this, you got to get the fuel moving in time with the fire and moving time with the air. And you got to get it mixed right. And then when it fires, man, you're awesome. When it doesn't fire, it all falls apart. And Coach Prime is like doing that, right? And it's for the most part, we're running bam, 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 bam. But every once in a while, those three elements don't get in there and we sputter out. But then the mix comes back in and we dial in, and all of a sudden it starts firing again. And so we're getting like that close. Like this is, you can see a developing team. We go from a lot of really bad things to a lot of really I'd say a mix of really good things to a lot of really good things, and that's where we're right now. We're at a lot of really good things. Don't call people out for wanting CU to play top notch. This game was not played smart. Brian says. I'm happy. Demand says I'm happy with the win. Every game so far has been something that can be better. Yes, nice. Yeah, that's exactly what we're saying. We are all on the same page as fans. I guarantee some dudes running gassers one day. Yes, the penalties are going to be wearing some guys out because there were a lot of penalties in this. Robert Harris says, I'm in a Coach Prime fan, even though I've been a Nebraska fan since I was in the 6th grade. I'm glad CU doesn't play them anymore. That was serious conflict for me. Well, Robert, I had a video that came out before this one. It was about a day or two ago where I talked about what bowl is Colorado going to go to. We're going to do another one on Monday because everything's going to change now. Miami lost. That's a big deal, guys. And there's probably going to be some other turnover in the Big 12 and in college football, and that will change potential. What am I trying to say? If we don't go to the playoffs, it will change the bowl we go to and who we play. And one of those scenarios that I put in there, which is distinctly possible, is that we play Nebraska in a bowl game. I don't remember what bowl game it was. It's in that video, but I kind of did a little delineation and figured out that Big 12 plays Big 10. Nebraska's down on the Big 10 scale a little more than Colorado's down on the Big 12 scale. But if Colorado, let's say, were to lose another game, we could potentially play Nebraska. I don't want to do that. I don't want to play Nebraska. I don't want to lose a game, but it is a potential. Bowl games are really weird like that. We are fans, not coaches. Coaches have the team at 7-2. Go Buck says. Well, that's you then. I don't know that. Hell yeah. Let's see. L. Blake says, against CU played a game needed to go into next week. Focus will be on corrections and prep for next week. They have grown each game, building their destinies. Go Buffs. That's well said, L. Blake. Randy Gilbert says, I'm happy with the win as well. 7-2. Yes, KR, the defensive backs will be hearing from Mathis and Prime. Brian says, I've watched football for a while, and this is not going to get CU far if they make the playoffs. We want greatness, right? Yes, we do. Christopher Rogers, who rants on victory night? Alpine is pissing in the punch bowl because he wants perfection. Christopher Rogers. Yeah, probably. I'm not pissing in the punch bowl. You may see it that way, but I'm not. I'm so passionate about Colorado being able to win out and go to the playoffs and make a really good run in the playoffs, that at this point it's like, man, when you're driving in a race, let's say, and you're in the back, you want to try to get to, the middle so you can at least get some points, right? But all of a sudden you make it to the middle and you're like in the top quarter and you're like, man, I could stab a win in this thing. Like I really could. I got to change my game plan because it's not just about holding in 12th and getting, 5 NASCAR points. It's about if I punch it a little harder and I go to the outside and I rub a little bit more and make a little bit more of a mess and maybe even put myself in a position where I might actually crash out. I will either crash out or I will win this thing and I will get tons of points and notoriety and more sponsors and more money. And that's where we're at right now is we're right there earning points. And we're looking ahead saying, what if I were to really punch this thing and I risk crashing out, but at the same time, it's a possibility that I could win this thing out. And that's where we're at with Colorado. When you do that, things change. Your mindset changes. You got to really start getting a little bit more elaborate. And that's what we're talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Let's see. Mary Lou says, I'm loving that SE teams are killing one another. I agree. Everybody's eating everybody. Even the Big 12 is. I mean, you take BYU out of this. And did you guys see that Big 12, like at the end of the game, they were showing a graphic on Fox where it showed the turmoil in the Big 12 and kind of the topsy-turvy lifestyle of being in the Big 12 right now. It was really interesting. I tried to take a screenshot of it, but I couldn't get it in time. But it was really super interesting. And it's not just this one. It's SEC is the same way. This is going to be a really interesting first playoff this year. I'm watching it like a hawk, like I'm planning it out. I've got spreadsheets going right now, trying to figure out what's going to happen. It's actually a lot of fun. It makes it more fun to watch college football when you can get involved in that. Okay, let's see. If you run a business and hire a bunch of kids, there will be growing pains. How about agree to disagree? I agree. Yeah, that's what it is. It's, we're all fans here, guys. And so this is one of those things where the reason why I'm in the garage and I do this in the garage, I could do it in the house, if I wanted to do that. But it's kind of, this is my gathering place. Like I said, I've got cars and motorcycles all over the place in here, and people come over and we hang out. Like you hang out at a bar with some friends watching a football game, and arguments bust out within the friend group. Okay. Because one believes we should have done this. The other one says, shut up, we're winning. And that's what's going on here is we're just debating things. I like traditional football. Other people just care for wins at this point. So there's going to be a little debate there. We all want to win, and we all think Colorado is doing a great job. I think everybody can agree on that. So that's what we're going to do. Everyone has watched. See, Randy says everyone has watched and played a lot of football. Doesn't have anything to do with it now, and they don't have structure. See, everyone has watched and played a lot of football. Doesn't have anything to do. I don't understand that, Randy. I'm sure I'll get it here in a minute. Let's see what we got here. We got some battles going on in the chat. I'd love to see that. We have an opportunity to win the Big 12 championship. Let's have some discipline. New World Grover says. Money will hold the team together. Well, that is the new plan for college football, guys. Have money or have prime, right? We don't need money. We have prime. Prime is money. And I think that's one of the reasons why, we don't hear about all of these $2 million deals for NIL or not NIL for like direct payment NIL from an NIL to a player here at Colorado. At least it's not headlines like it is in a lot of other places. They have a top tight end from Colorado coming. That is it. We will see. I hope that's true. And this is the next 3 games we could actually establish that a little bit more, because we're playing teams that aren't quite as good. Can't think of another word to say, as Texas Tech and some of these other teams. Not that Utah can't come up and beat us. I mean, Utah can beat anybody, but This is a time where we can, get some other schemes going and see what we can do. Because if we can win out and Iowa State loses, we're like I said, now we're battling for first. Now we're in the front row and we got to figure out, okay, am I just going to sit here or am I going to try to battle and like knock someone out? I'm probably just going to tap somebody in the rear bumper and let them spin out. Okay. If I do that, I might spin out too, but I got to do something because now I didn't think I could get to first, but I see that first car right in front of me right there. And I have all the skill to do it. I just need to do it. I need to make the plan to do it. I'm really not a race car fan, guys. I mean, I'll watch race car racing, but I like the strategy in it. And the thing I like about NASCAR is if you look at the strategies, the team strategies and the individual driver strategies, it's really interesting. It's a lot like football. There's plays, there's maneuvers. It's really, really interesting. Outside of that, I'm not really huge racing fan. You were absolutely right at everything you're saying. Heck, we can't win most games with 14 penalties, etc. Thank you, shaking hands. And I'm not trying to be right. I'm just saying my opinion. And again, the passion of Colorado football is deeper in me than I would say probably in most people in the country. I was doing the same thing with my friends, 4 or 5 years ago. Same exact thing is, restructuring. We'll win some games back then, but we don't win a lot of games. But when we do win them, it's not like a lot of us aren't just throwing beers in the air and going, "Hey, we finally won a game." It's like, great. Now, how do we take that win and parlay it? Let's take the good things. Let's make them better. Let's use those as strategy. Let's take the bad things and let's try not to do those again. And we could probably win more games. And that's what we're doing here. All right, go Bucks. Yeah, I'm throwing elite receivers over tight ends. Okay, so go Bucks. That is I don't disagree with you. We have elite wide receivers. Okay. My question to you is how many NFL teams, and really, let's not even go NFL. Let's just talk about top 5, 6 teams. Go and look at those. What top 5, 6 teams don't use a tight end? Like physically, one pass a game. What teams do that? You're not going to find very many, if any at all. Same thing we talked about last year. People were saying, we don't need a running game. We got elite wide receivers. Why do you need a running game? Don't try to make an apple into an orange. My point was, look at the top 6 teams. Last year, the top 6 teams going into the end of the year, the only team that didn't have a run-heavy offense, and I say run-heavy, I mean a balanced offense, was Washington. And of course, they made it to the national championship. But then they got absolutely steamrolled. Okay. So when you're talking about that was one player on Washington's team that got them to that point. And that's great, right? The rest of the teams that played, including the team that won, was a balanced or run heavy team. That's just the way football is played. So when you ask me, do you want elite wide receivers or do you want good tight end play? I'm going to say, why can't you have both, right? You have 4 elite receivers. You take one of those away, you add a tight end. What the tight end does, okay, are they elite wide receivers? No. But they give a wrinkle to the offense that is hard to defend, which is the reason why every pro team seems like they have an all-star tight end in the pros, right? In the absolute highest level of football. Look at your Travis Kelce's out there and every other. I mean, Dallas Cowboys won championships with Jay Novacek. Was he an elite wide receiver? No, he wasn't. He was a tight end. And that's what the thing is. Like Michael Harrison last year. Was Michael Harrison an elite wide receiver? I'm sorry, was he an elite tight end? No, he wasn't even an elite wide receiver. That's why they made him into a tight end, right? But as a tight end, when we used the tight end last year, which was the first 3 games, we won. And we won in overtime. And Michael Harrison was a freaking stud. And he caught, I think he might have dropped 2 passes the entire season, right? That's the key to a tight end. Big body, high catch rate, hard to cover because, are you blocking or are you catching or what are you doing, right? Good short yardage, keep the ball, keep the clock running, good game management. So that's the reason why I say, would I want 4 elite or would I want 3 elite and a good tight end and a scheme that could match that? I would take that. I would take that 11 personnel and I would run with it all day long because that's what almost every team does. Okay. That's all I got to say about that. Let's do some fun here. 7 Mile 2020 says, Sco Buffs. Go Buck says, Saban didn't win at the beginning. He didn't. That is true. And we didn't win at the beginning, but we're winning now. But what Saban did do was he won over a long period of time on a regular basis. And he made consistency something in college football, which we hadn't seen for a while. Outside of, Nebraska in the 80s, 90s, and, you name it, pull some out of there. Consistency in football is the key, and it's harder now than it will ever be. I'd say it's harder now than it has ever been with the transfer portal. Mateo K says the coaches will be doing the same surgical analysis and more as Alpine is doing. It's all, yes. And that's what I'm saying is coaches will never sit back and pop a beer and say, hey guys, we won, take 4 days off and do what you did this week, next week, right? They're not going to do that because that's not what they get paid to do. They get paid to be consistent and win games. That's correct. I like that. KR's at LSU. Yeah, I knew that, KR. You said you were an LSU grad before. What else do we got here, guys? This is all going to change when they go to revenue sharing. Yeah. So that's another wrinkle too, right? Let's add every wrinkle that we can add to college football, including paying players. That's going to be interesting. Like I thought about that. I had a video lined out. I sketched it out, which I love to do. I love to just get in there and think. There's not a lot about that right now. The revenue sharing, exactly how it's going to work, how it's going to retain or lose players. So you kind of do it on your own and you try to use your wits to try to come up with a strategy. If you were a coach and you were hired, and not a coach, but if you were an analyst and you were hired and say, hey, figure out this revenue sharing thing, right? Figure this out, figure out how we're going to pay players, and you do this thing and you're like, okay, well, I have an economics degree. And so I guess maybe that'll work. I don't have I have a marketing degree, but let's say, they hire somebody with an economics degree to try to figure this out. And then they go and they bone out a strategy and they say, okay, this is the strategy we're going to use. And it's either going to be a world beater or it's going to suck and we're going to lose everybody. Right. So that's what I do when I go down and I sit and I do these things. It's just fun. You never know. And then you throw it out there and you guys look at it and say, Alpine's an idiot, or I don't know, that could actually work. So that's a lot of fun. Brian Kelly. I like Brian Kelly too. Let's see. Buffalo's our champs. Fat Even says, not a Kelly fan so far. Now I'm going to go all the way to the beginning of the chat. We're only going to do this for maybe 5 more minutes, and then I'm going to get out of here so you guys can enjoy your evening. I've got some fish to fry because we are having Colorado style fish tacos tonight, and I have filmed a few videos for this channel called Cooking in the Buff. And the only reason why I say I'm not naked when I do this, but I actually have an apron that says Cooking in the Buff. But it's basically to show people how to cook Colorado style food and just give a different look on food. Because I know a lot of folks that are on this channel are maybe from the South or the East or the North, or they're in a different country. And you hear a lot about Colorado cuisine as you do about any other part of the country. And so I filmed a few of those, and I've just been shy about releasing them because I don't want to alienate you guys and think that I'm trying to make a cooking channel. But we'll probably release those in the off season so you can kind of see what, for instance, ribs, Colorado style. Like you're like, what? Yeah, that's right. So green chili, love green chili, love making green chili. We have that video as well. And that's something that you can make anywhere because you can get green chilies anywhere in the country. And if you want to add a little spice to your life and try a little Colorado cuisine, that's kind of what that's about. Anyway. Let's see. People are criticizing Shadur's stats because we thought he would throw all of these guys because they have. No, Cam, I don't think anybody's criticizing Shadur's stats. What we said is that the stats that he put up today if this is what you're alluding to, aren't the same kind of stats that he's normally putting up, but these are really solid stats. Like 30 for 43, 291 yards, darn near 300 yards, and 3 TDs, no interceptions. Man, that's a solid game. Any quarterback that plays that game is going to be a really good quarterback, right? We're just, with the way that our offense is designed, running 10 personnel, where we have 4 wide receivers on almost every single play. He's thrown the ball 400, 500 yards in a lot of cases. And when you do that, it kind of, I don't know, that bar gets set. And so when maybe prognosticators that are looking at it and saying, well, he didn't throw for 450 yards this week, so it was a bad week for him. I don't look at it that way. When I see stats like this, though, my expectation is that the run game is going to be good. Like we ran for 120, 130 yards, but we didn't. We ran for 60. So I don't think this is Shadur's stats that are something that we need to look at. I think it's the running stats that we need to look at. Thank you for that comment, Cam. That was a good comment. Let's see. So Cam also says, but I said Texas Tech was coming of a huge win and had momentum. They were playing CU as everyone's Super Bowl. That's correct. So Go Buck says they do great in adjustments. Guess I didn't follow CU when they played all their perfect games. Go Bucks is giving me the business. He is giving me the business. KR says, let's see. Let's go all the way to the front here. I'll grab a couple more. I don't want to go past a bunch of people. Let's see. Sonia's in here. She says, I'm happy we won no matter how sloppy the game. A win is a win. They better get better because they got lucky today. Sonia is a long-time subscriber, and you can definitely tell by her comments that she's got a very level head for football. And that is, I love seeing that. I love seeing that. Be happy, have fun, enjoy the win. We're 7-2. It's a great day in Colorado football. They're traveling back to Colorado, and there's going to be celebration, probably a lot of sleep, and then we start back tomorrow with getting ready for a potential run to the Big 12 championship. And that's a serious business. Everyone, all the coaches and the players are going to get down to business. They're going to think, how can we take if you're going to rate Colorado from 1 to 10 after this game, not this game, but up to this game, okay? 10 being Alabama a few years back, or, name your team that's consistently Ohio State, consistently in the top 3, 4, 5. That being a 10, okay? Where are we on a scale from 1 to 10? We're a 1 3 years ago. Last year, probably about a 4, maybe. Right now, I think we're probably a 6, okay? And I would even say maybe even a 7. But once you start getting to that 7, 8, 9, the strength that you have to get to that next notch is insanely hard. Okay. It's like you can run from 1, which we did, run from 1 to 4 like that. You can get from 4 to 6 or 7 with moderate effort. Once you get to 7 and you got to get to 8, things have got to change. Schemes have got to change. Players got to get more focused. We got to get more disciplined. Coaching needs to be at an elite level all of the time, right? Not saying that there's not a mistake, but consistent, really good play calling, okay? And time management has got to be a primary goal. It's got to be a primary goal. Time management, to me, I coached not at a high level, okay, at a very low level, and I did it because I wanted to have fun. I didn't make any money at it. It was a youth programs. I coached in youth programs. What was fun about that is that you could include the kids and come up with a game plan. And the kids that I coached were as smart as the adults were. We would come up with these crazy ideas and the kids would pull us down to earth and say, no, 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 that's not going to work. We need to stick to bread and butter, right? We don't want to get fancy. At this age, kids aren't catching the ball at an 80% rate, right? So we need to stick to what we can do best and try to win our next game. And that's the same way I see it. The fundamentals of football don't change from youth to elite football. Time of possession is a key to football. It's a key to football in the pros. It's a key to football in youth football. So that's why I think that needs to be one of our things that we need to talk about is how do we get the time of possession on our side? I don't even know what the time of possession was in this game. I know it was close. We didn't get blown out in time of possession like we have in some games. I don't think we won time of possession though. But in any case, it worked out for us in this game like it has in most games. And it may continue to work out for us, but I still think that's something that we need to focus on. All right, guys. Well, I'm not going to keep you any longer. You guys have been excellent on this chat. The dissension from the chat on me and the debate, the debate between each other and the debate with me. I truly appreciate that, guys. Like sometimes chats, if you look at certain chats, they get boring because we're talking about football. We're talking about some random thing that happened. And sometimes the chat just gets outright like obnoxious to the point where it's like, you don't even want to be on the chat anymore. This chat doesn't get that way. I'm not seeing this chat get that way. It's neither boring nor is it outlandish to the point where people get their butts hurt and start falling out. You guys have really good comments. And even towards me, the folks that were saying, don't be a CU hater and stuff like that. I appreciate that. I do. I appreciate that because where I'm coming from. I'm not a CU hater. Never have been in my life. But I understand how your passion and my passion are a little bit different in what we're looking for, right? And even Go Bucks in there saying, that 1-10 comment, like, that's right. You guys were playing perfect when you were 1-10. I mean, that's a good comment, right? It's a little bit of a stab, but at the same point, I understand what he's saying is that perfect football eludes us. It eluded us a lot back then, and it's getting much better now. But my expectations of this team as a fan are exactly the same as they were when Midnight Mill was here. They have not changed. It is play smart football, stick to the fundamentals, use your best players where you can, and be creative in your game. If you're not winning outright and dominating like Coach Prime wants, tweaks need to happen, right? You want to dominate. If you can't dominate, you want to be able to be the smarter of the coaching crews and the smarter of the team players that can inch their way to the win and not rely on a last minute Hail Mary pass or a penalty or something like that to carry you through the game. So, and that's kind of what I'm saying, but you guys are awesome. I very much appreciate you. If you haven't subscribed, please do down in the comments. I've got to go fry some fish so that we can have some fish tacos, and I will see you on Monday. If I don't go live tomorrow, I may go live tomorrow afternoon talking about this again. But I'm definitely going to be back Monday talking about the playoff picture again and also the bowl picture. How did that change? One of the sexiest bowls that I looked at was the potential that Colorado could be playing Ole Miss in the Las Vegas Bowl, right? I did the delineation there and it worked out. And then I started reading prognosticators and a couple of people actually picked Ole Miss and CU to play each other in the Las Vegas Bowl. And I can tell you, if that happens, I'm there. I'm at that game. Like that sounds to me like a game winner. Plus, Shedeur might be playing in Las Vegas in time, right? So this could be really, really fun. And so I'm kind of pulling for that game a little bit, That's a wrap from Alpine Garage Sports. I will see you in the next video.